future. It's here before you know it. Digital technology is moving fast, and businesses that don't adapt risk falling behind.
ASEAN, by 2030, the size of digital economy will be reaching $1 trillion. So we can see there are so much opportunities that we can leverage on that kind of economic growth in the region.
How is Malaysia keeping up? Stay with us on Decimal Point. By now, most Malaysians would have heard of My Digital. If not, it is the government blueprint to transform Malaysia into a digitally enabled, technology-driven, high-income nation and the regional leader in the digital economy. Research shows that artificial intelligence or AI could boost gross domestic product or GDP by as much as 26% by 2030. But turning ambitions into reality depends on how businesses adopt digital tools to become future-ready. What is the day-to-day routine of the VP of Digital Adoption at MDEC? Walk us through.
MDEC, we are an agency under the Ministry of Digital Malaysia. So our mandate is to drive digital economy for the country. So in doing so, adoption is one of the key components that we have to put our effort to make sure that we can touch all societies, all businesses and rakyat especially at all levels. So to your question that what will be my day-to-day activity, so I will be making assessment of which sectors, which communities that are capable of adopting. To the extent that we need to know where the levels of readiness are to make sure that we can provide the program. So I have to see them, I have to understand what are their pain points, and in doing so, we work closely with our partners to make sure that we can reach out to that communities to know if they were to adopt digital technology, what would be the economic impact to them. So me and my team will be looking into that kind of analysis to see if they adopt, then what kind of support that they need for them to be able to adopt effectively, and more importantly is how affordable it can be to that kind of people for them to adopt, because we need to make sure that first they must be open to technology, and secondly is it must be affordable for them to be able to adopt certain technology to improve their businesses or even to improve their quality of life.
As we know globally, as countries race towards digital transformation, how about Malaysia? How is Malaysia positioning itself to stay competitive ahead of the game?
Yes, it's the right questions. If you look at ASEAN, by 2030, the size of digital economy will be reaching $1 trillion. So we can see there are so much opportunities that we can leverage on that kind of economic growth in the region. So coming back to Malaysia, if you recall that our Prime Minister has stated that digital economy will be contributing about 30% to national GDP by 2030. What does it mean? It means that we have to intensify our effort to make sure that we have to touch all level of businesses, all level of communities to make sure that they can leverage on this bandwagon for them to be able to adopt the technology that will transform their businesses. So for Malaysia, I think with MDEC support under the leadership of Ministry of Digital, we have a few programs to make sure that we can remain competitive. We look at the talent, for example, like we have to make sure that our talent are equipped with the right skills for them to be able to, whether they are going to be an entrepreneur or whether they are going to work with multinationals, the talent must be there to make sure that Malaysia remain on the top-notch spot in terms of having the right skill set for us to transform. And secondly is to make sure that our companies, as we bring in the investment in the country, we have to make sure that our local companies can be benefited from that investments. What kind of opportunities that can be created so that we can drive up, lift up our local companies to be able to serve the needs of those big investors and hence increase revenues. And also, more importantly, is how do we then make them to be mentally ready for them to go on the regional scale. Once you have validated your solution in the country, this is where we want to make sure that these companies can export their services in ASEAN region. So these are the things that would then elevate how Malaysia want to be competitive in, at least in the region, so that we can remain steadfast in terms of embracing the digital economy to grow our overall national agenda.
What role does digital adoption play for Malaysians and preparing for Malaysians for the future?
So there are 1 million SMEs in Malaysia. So if we are able to transform them digitally, then we can create the impact to the nation. What we do is to understand what are their level of readiness. That's why we do a profiling of those SMEs to make sure that where they are in terms of level. We have 5 levels of measurement that we want to put into the picture, as low as level 1 to level 5. So if we have an indication of where they are, for example, like if most of them are on level 2, and what it takes for them to be on a level 3 or 4, whether we want to give them the trainings, whether we want to provide them with the funding, or whether we want to match them with the solution providers that will be equipping them with necessary skills for them to be able to transform. So I think if you can uplift that kind of SMEs from level 2 to level 4, for example, that would be a good barometer for us to measure that our businesses are ready to embrace the challenges and also to leverage on the opportunities in the region so that they can adopt these technologies that can bring benefit to their businesses. So I think that is the way that we want to make sure that we know what kind of businesses that we have, what kind of sectors that we want to focus on, that we give the greatest impact to the economy, and then we channel our resources and program to target to that specific SMEs who would like to be uplifted in that manner.
Interesting. To have the tier and the level of SMEs, that's something that is.
Or as if you don't have the tier, then it will be hard for you to provide the right intervention for specific set of SMEs because they have different level of challenges. They are serving different sectors. Each and every sector have different set of pain points that they have to address. So you want to make sure that we are addressing the right businesses in the right sector, so that in the day it will give us a way of contributing to our digital economy.
Okay, that's interesting, and that's very vital also to have them. Yes, yeah, you point out that they maybe come from different sectors, and then different needs are
different
needed.
background, different experience, different exposure. So in adopting digital technology, so that's why I think the skill set, the awareness are very important to make sure that they are hitting the right solution for the right problem that they're having. Since 2016, we have trained about 600,000 micro entrepreneurs in digital marketing. Since then, we have registered about more than 1.2 billion of sales generated by those that we have trained.
But Malaysia's digital journey isn't new. Flashback to 1996, when the multimedia super corridor attracted both local and global information and communication technology (ICT) players. Today, the fourth industrial revolution is disrupting and transforming industries, and businesses have no choice but to adapt. What is MBEC's role in this focus area, and then what strategies or action plans are in place to speed up even further?
Maybe another example that I can give to illustrate this kind of programs. Since 2016, we have trained about 600,000 micro entrepreneurs in digital marketing. Before that, they were not exposed to the way of marketing their products on the online platform. So since we have done that since 2015, we have touched about more than 600,000 micro SMEs all over the country, including Sarawak, to gauge and to measure their level of acceptance in terms of putting their products on the online platform. So we provided that training. We make sure that they undergo a structured program, developmental program, where we bring in the qualified trainers for them to teach what are the tools and the techniques for them to be able to expose, to profile, and also to make sure that their products are known not only in Malaysia but in the region. So I'm happy to say that since then we have registered about more than 1.2 billion of sales generated by those that we have trained. Not all 600,000 that we train generated revenues, but some of them are able, maybe 20% of them are able to generate revenues. So in totality, that 1.2 billion of what we call gross merchandise values that were put on sales is a good indicator that we have the right micro entrepreneurs with the right products and services for them to be able to be onboarded into the platform so that they can reach out to the market more easily rather than having physical stores or challenges of assuming the big cost of establishing a retail store. So we want to make sure that they have opportunities to market their products on the online space.
What about the program? Is it for only Malaysians of all ages, or is there a particular criteria for this program?
Yes, as long as you have Malaysian IC, then you are eligible for that program. What we're trying to do is we want to go to the areas where people who have less opportunities to access the services are the area that we want to go. For example, in the highly urbanized area, they have their own support already, so they can stand on their own. What we did earlier, again, profiling of the potential micro entrepreneurs who are located in different places of the nation, and we make sure that we have that good pool of micro entrepreneurs we can bring forward for us to be able to expose them through various training skills and exposure, and even the boot camp for them to be able to we lock them, for example, 5 days for them to do from first step to the final step up to the point where they can generate the income on the spot.
That's great, a boot camp specifically for that. And for what about the latest trends also as well, sir? I mean, how do you stay updated in the latest trends, practices, technologies as well?
Maybe another example on the businesses. I think you have heard about the e-invoicing.
Yes.
This is a thing that business need to make sure that they can adopt back-end business documentation based on the e-invoicing. This is very important. We used to have a conventional physical invoicing, which is good because it is a method of producing a document to substantiate the sales order. But with e-invoicing, we are encouraging the businesses to adopt e-invoicing for us to be able to get their data in the system. This is very important. If we have more and more e-invoicing data in the system, it will give benefit to the businesses because all the transaction values, all the payment pattern are captured in the secure data environment. So that will be used for them to apply for financing. Imagine if businesses who do not have a complete document or accounting or statement of bank, then that would be another form of validation to evaluate the business's capability in terms of raising funds, in terms of being the good paymasters, and we are working with the financial institution to make sure that they can use that kind of data for them to be able to offer financing facilities to the businesses. So those are the benefits of using e-invoicing, for example. And in doing so, because Malaysia, we are an authority appointed by the government, MDAT is an authority appointed by the government to undertake the e-invoicing standard. We are encouraging the businesses to use that e-invoicing services by having a good pool of e-invoicing service providers in the ecosystem, where we want to make sure that we have more and more e-invoicing service providers operating in Malaysia, and we encourage whether to offer the free or freemium services so that we do not burden them financially in terms of adopting e-invoices. So these are good examples that would to see how the back end of businesses can be digitalized through e-invoicing.
And also, with e-invoicing in place, these are the initiatives and steps and strategies also for all these digital adoption. Now, what about within an organization, sir? How do you foster a culture of continuous learning and digital fluency within an organization?
We have to look into how fast the technology changes. Part of our duty is to make sure that we can upskill and reskill the workforce. So far, we have awarded what we call the Malaysia Digital Status to more than 6,000 companies. The MD status is the validation of the companies who are undertaking the activities that is aligned to our priorities. in terms of moving the needle for us to grow our digital economy. So we want to make sure that the workforce is being trained. How do we do this thing is we get the experts and professionals out there to tell us what are the skills that are required now and maybe for the next 3 years, and how do we then get our partners to offer certain packages for them to be able to reskill and upskill the workforce so that they remain competitive, they remain relevant to the industry. We are not able to train all the whole of workforce in Malaysia, but what we do is we provide that kind of mechanism for the other agencies to follow that model, where you have to be guided by the fact that certain skill set are going to be obsolete and certain skill set are going to be emerging for the next 2 or 3 years. That's why we want to make sure that we take the first step of validating that thing. And once it is validated, then it is open out there for companies to take up that thing, whether they can go to the training using the HRDF fund for them to subsidize the training. And we want to make sure that we keep on engaging the industry professional and forever been practicing the certain technologies for them to advise us what would be the skill set that required. So the question is, maybe I'm touching on the AI, artificial intelligence. Yes. So it's a hot topic. The notion is that people, the fear is that AI will take over the job. But we don't believe that in totality, because imagine if you do a repetitive task, instead of wasting human resources to do a repetitive task day in and day out, that's where the AI agents would come into place. And we're going to redeploy that human resource to do other high value things that human can do at best. So it's a matter of us embracing and adapting to the changes to make sure that our workforce are ready and are flexible enough, are resilient enough for them to be able to be reskilled and redo the jobs that are required out there, that will be needing the human resource, human touch, human emotion to make sure that the jobs are being delivered at best. We have a program what we call Digital Agriculture or Digital AgTech. From the 700 projects that we have done all over the country, including Sarawak and Sabah, we have registered more than 20% of yield.
Digital adoption isn't just about having AI or cloud computing. It's about integrating them into everyday business workflow. Research found that Malaysian businesses face big challenges like high costs, low technology skills among senior leaders, and a shortage of talents. How to align digital adoption goals, sir? I mean, with the overreaching business objectives, such as reaching its revenue, its cost reduction, and so on?
I think the end game of adoption is about how it will give the impact to business, as I said earlier. For SMEs that I spoke just now in terms of profiling them, if they were to adopt, what would be the measurements to measure the impact. So we look at the cost reduction, we look at the business opportunities, and we look at the revenues. As I said earlier, we have about 6,000 plus Malaysia digital status companies. We do an annual survey on how well that they are doing in terms of revenues, in terms of jobs creation, in terms of investments. So we can see the year-to-year growth is quite healthy. They are growing. Revenues are being increased on a year-to-year basis. But specific to the SMEs, we have measured that most of them have realized cost saving quite significantly. Maybe I want to talk about something which is quite unconventional. Agriculture. It's still a business.
It is.
Farmers, still a business. We have a program what we call Digital Agriculture or Digital AgTech. What we do is we get our technology partner and farmer to work together in terms of adopting certain system based on IoT, based on the AI that is used to monitor the crops, that are used to monitor how healthy the fish are in the pond, things like that. So I'm happy to say that from the 700 projects that we have done, again all over the country, including Sarawak and Sabah, we have registered more than 20% of yield that which is realised, reduction of 30% of cost. So those are the impact, a direct impact to the farmers, which is to us a business owner, because they own a farm, they grow the livestock, they grow the smart farming, they sell to the market. So those are the real businesses on the ground that are benefited from the use of technologies.
I mean, with all these initiatives and strategies taking place, and you pointed out a very important sector, which is actually farming and agriculture, which I think in Sarawak, namely with the big vast land that they have, and all these should be in place, especially for young agropreneurs, they call it right now. Now, with all these strategies, sir, I mean, how would you measure the success of a digital adoption initiative? Is there a certain KPI from MDEC?
Yeah, I think we measure on, first of all, at the top line KPI is how many businesses digitalize. We have to measure that how many businesses that we have touched and adopt the technology. We have that numbers. And the second layer of measurement is in terms of, again, in terms of their revenues, in terms of cost saving, and in terms of new business opportunities created out of that adoption. So those are the key KPIs that we are measuring to make sure that we can remain relevant into the initiative that we have given to on the ground. And secondly, is in terms of alignment to the national strategies. I spoke about the digital agriculture just now. We have a national food security strategy, right? Then the KPI then will be more on the qualitatively, how do we then contribute to that goal of that national strategy? Like how much of the impact brought by the farmers that we have touched that is contributing to the food security? You said Sarawak just now, a rice bowl of the country, right? Then the question is, from the project that we do, how do we extrapolate the success of those farmers that can be contributed to the achievement of the national food security measurement and strategy? So I think it takes both from the perspective of direct impact to the businesses or to the farmers for that matter, and how it then can be mapped upward to the national strategy goals.
All right. Earlier, sir, we were talking about the agripreneurs and agriculture as well. Could you also tell us, in your expertise and experiences as well, what is the actual cost for digital adoption in agriculture sector?
I said earlier we have run about 700 pilot projects all over Malaysia, including Sarawak. The actual cost for the pilot project that we did is about 100 to 150,000. So that cost can still be lower down if you have the scale. So if you have so many thousands of sites over Malaysia, then that cost will be coming down. But the cost that we have done so far was contributed partly by us, partly by our tech partners, and partly by the farmers. So that is a rough estimate of the cost of digital adoption in agriculture.
Now, with all these strategies and digital adoption being a big way forward to a better nation, sir, and finally, how can states like Sabah and Sarawak tap into these opportunities?
Well, I think there are so much opportunities that can happen in Sabah and Sarawak. I take Sarawak for example. Like, as I said, this is my 5th trip to Sarawak, and all those trips are about how do we work together with state government to make sure that we are aligned in terms of digital economy. Recently at IDEX, we have signed MOU with Sarawak Digital Economy Corporation, or SDEC, between MDEC and SDEC, because we believe that through that partnership, we will know better what will be the local challenges, what will be the opportunity that we can tap in. And I spoke earlier about digital agriculture, I spoke about the training the micro entrepreneurs, the talent development. All of those programs were done in Sarawak. And we have seen a very good result of our intervention with a few success stories that have been created out of Sarawak. So I believe it's right window for Sarawak to position the state well into the digital economic expansion, and how we can come in is always to make sure that we can work hand in hand. For us, we need to know what are the priorities of state government, and we can come in to make sure that we can provide initiatives that are relevant to the priorities of Sarawak state government. We may have a better, stronger presence in Sarawak in the future, once we have more programs that we are undertaking in the state. So we are looking forward to have our stronger presence in Sarawak in the near future.
Digital adoption is change. It requires a whole-of-nation approach, which means partnerships between government, business and society. It's not just providing broadband and a cyber ecosystem, but also fostering a digital-first mindset for a future-ready workforce. Keep up with Decimal Point.